to the news. I am Soyoko Hwakuchere. Achieving zero hunger in sub-Saharan Africa while reducing inequalities and conserving ecosystems will be the subject for discussion at a two-day National Stakeholder Engagement Forum in Accra. The four-year interdisciplinary research project is a collaborative effort between the University of Ghana Department of Soil Science and the International Institute for Environment and Development UK. The project is aimed at safeguarding vital ecosystem services in Ghana, Ethiopia and Zambia.
Stepping up agricultural production to meet the rapidly growing demand for food by 150% is projected for 2050, while protecting vital ecosystem services and promoting social equality lies at the heart of sustainable development. Decision makers in government and the private sector continue to act to better understand the environmental impacts of different agricultural development pathways. Some topics discussed include effect of biodiversity decline on livelihoods, socio-economic impacts of agricultural expansion, and serious gaming, uncovering the drivers of expansion into the forest. The project focused on three objectives: enhanced knowledge, relationships, and research capacity. On the Sentinel story from the International Institute of Environment and Development UK, Madame Barbara Adolph said the Sentinel conceptual framework shows how partners assess the relationship between direct and indirect drivers which bring about changes in the functions of agricultural systems. On agricultural expansion and climate change, the Deputy Director, Climate Vulnerabilities and Adaptation, EPA, Dr. Entribuesia Kwamwa, said there are a number of policies in place to support Ghana's agricultural sustainability.
The NDCs that come from the agri sector is actually looking at mitigation and then also looking at adaptation. How do you provide programs and interventions that support communities and farmers to adapt to the impact of climate change?
Dr. Dora Niena of the Department of Social Science, University of Ghana, is the component project.
One of the very critical findings that I've had from the soil analysis is the fact that there is very low sulfur content in the soils, and especially in the cultivated areas. In fact, some of the soils did not have sulfur, total sulfur at all, particularly with regards to the use of the carbon nitrogen sulfur analyzer.
In some communities visited in Ghana, Zambia and Ethiopia, some farmers had opened up farmlands in the forest in the years preceding the survey. However, soil fertility and productivity of newly cleared land often degrade quickly. Findings suggest strengthening governance systems and taking land planning seriously.
The lack of clean drinking water and sanitation systems is a severe concern in Ghana, contributing to 70% of diseases in Ghana. Widespread use of plastic drinking water sachets due to lack of available potable water has also led to increased plastic pollution, often polluting water bodies. The Ghana Water Company has over the years lamented that illegal mining activities is polluting over 60% of the country's waters. What is also troubling is the announcement of a possible water rationing with the rain's delay as Ghana rolls up its sleeves to join the rest of the world to celebrate World Water Day next week. GBC News begins a discussion on access to safe drinking water, especially for the rural dwellers. My colleague Valencia Tete was at a policy dialogue of Ghana's water strategy and has joined me in the studio for us to have a conversation. Good afternoon, Valencia.
Good afternoon, Zilko.
How is everything?
Everything is all right.
Yes, you are at this dialogue this morning. Can you tell us what happened?
Okay, so this morning, when the team got there, we set for the program and looking at Ghana's rate at which the groundwater is being used. Lest I forget to this year's World Waters Day is themed groundwater in making the invisible visible, meaning groundwater is beneath the earth, so before we can get water, we have to extract it
the exposure. For the exposure, when you do the
you tell us how bad is the issue of rickety and poor maintained vehicles plying our roads?
I'm finding it difficult to hear you, but I think there is some noise at the background. No, it's not helping me.
All right, let's try it again. I was asking how bad the issue of rickety and poor maintained vehicles plying our roads. How bad is the situation?
Let me first make a clarification. In your introduction, for vehicle inspection, my department is driver training, testing, and licensing. That is my department. However, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority has a mandate to ensure good driving standards and the use of road-ready vehicles on our roads. As part of our personal mandate, we have partnered with the private sector to establish vehicle testing centers in some jurisdictions or some regions in Ghana. And the majority of these facilities will be found in Accra, Kumasi, and Takoradi. However, we are aware that the number of test stations required to cover the country, we do not have that at the moment. So we complement what the private sector does. So we also are involved in the inspection of the vehicles in locations where these centers are not. Now, the use of these rickety vehicles is of worry to all stakeholders in the road safety management space. So, for that matter, we have identified that apart from the vehicles that pass through our system, there are also a number of vehicles that do not turn up for inspection. And that is why we complement after inspection what the police do in terms of enforcement. We complement it by coming together with the police themselves, the National Road Safety, through our compliance team to do roadside checks. These are all efforts directed at making sure that the vehicles that are not road ready to be on our roads are identified, and the drivers or the owners are notified, and where they fail to take action, the sanctions are applied. I should also say that vehicle owners also have the responsibility to ensure that the vehicles they use on our roads comply with the state, the regulations that the state provides. And so the vehicles that we inspect, of course, we take them through certain standards to ensure that they are road ready before they are certified.
Okay, so all vehicles must be tested, and as you said earlier, there are quite a number of vehicles that do not come to the centers for testing. Let me ask you, do we have enough vehicle testing centers across the country?
So I mentioned that the collaboration we are having with the private sector, we keep increasing the centers that we have and the required number across the country. And that is why our offices in jurisdictions where these facilities are not available continue to do the test manually instead of the system base. The whole idea is that gradually we get to all these locations. But we have enough of these facilities in Accra, Kumasi, and Takrady. And of course, majority of the vehicles actually are in Accra, Kumasi, and then Takrady and Tema. Yes.
Where some drivers also tell us that they get their roadworthy certificates through third parties, including some from your outfit. Is it right to do so? If not, what are you doing to stem the tide?
Please come again on that, please.
I was saying that some drivers have hinted that they get their roadworthy certificates through third parties, including staff from your outfit, that is DVLA. And I was asking, is that the right procedure? Well,
no.
It's fine. So then what are you doing? What are you doing to stem the tide?
All right. So where these test facilities are located, we do not get involved in vehicle testing again. We rather regulate them and monitor what they do. It is only in jurisdictions where we don't have the test centers that we come in to do the tests. And therefore, if anybody is obtaining roadworthy from a third party, then that person definitely obtains roadworthy from the right. The only institution, state institution mandated to issue roadworthy is the DVLA. And the DVLA has identified certain stakeholders who have the capacity to do so and has licensed them to do that on its behalf. And those are monitored and controlled. Apart from these certified centers, if you are obtaining your roadway from any other source, then you are not doing the right thing. We continue to put in systems where we can verify the roadworthies that we issue. So if you take any sticker that comes from our system, we have a way of verifying it electronically and even manually. So if you don't go to our system, I advise that you either identify one of the approved stations and visit there for the test, or you go to the DVLA office itself for your inspection and then the certification. Anything out of this, I'll say you're falling out of the regulation.
You know, when you travel outside Accra to other communities, you realize that rickety vehicles just seem like the normal thing to travel on. And also, we've also recorded quite a number of road accidents this year. And is there any data to suggest that rickety vehicles are the cause of these accidents?
Well, the data collected by the police, because when accidents happen, the police comes into the mission together with the National Road Safety, and then sometimes when the DVLA team, DVLA doing the thing we do. However, the data points to a lot of other factors, but we could find out from the police what percentage of the accidents come from rickety vehicle. Because if you look at the causes that have been identified, the data has shown mostly human behavior and people failing to abide by the rules of the road. That in itself doesn't take away the fact that vehicles shouldn't be rickety and be on our roads. So we need to look at the data again to establish whether or not is the rickety nature of the vehicle that has contributed to that. Yes,
All right.
We need to. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kafui Semavo. Mr. Kafui Semavo is the Deputy Director in charge of training, testing and licensing of the DVLA. The Ministry of Health says media reports that government has sold the Accra Psychiatric Hospital to some private investors are false. The reports say the foreign investors will take over the facility by June this year. The sector minister, Mr. Kweku Ajiman-Menu, explained that the hospital is to be redeveloped under Agenda 111 into a new modern 220-bed psychiatric hospital under an EPC contract. He explained that tenders received are being evaluated currently. The minister further says might relocate staff of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital to Pantine Hospital, and authorities will ensure that unless all steps towards getting the contractor on site are completed and contractor is ready to commence work, there will be no relocation. The brain consists of nerve cells that communicate with one another. Moving on, we do more health stories, and the brain consists of nerve cells that communicate with one another through electrical activity. A seizure occurs when one or more parts of the brain have a burst of abnormal electrical signals that interrupt normal brain signals. Doctors say anything that interrupts the normal connections between nerve cells in the brain can cause a seizure. However, when a child has 2 or more seizures with no known cause, this is diagnosed as epilepsy. On GTV Breakfast, the pediatrician at the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Hilda Boy, suggested some first aid tips.
First of all, you need to consider safety. The child needs to be in an area which is safe. There are some cases where they'll say the child fell into a fire, or so you try to ensure that wherever the child is at that time is a safe environment. Move the child away from harm, and you position the child on the side. Protect the head. If possible, the child can be on a soft surface so that they are more. Move the child into a car and to hospital. If you can call an ambulance, you get an ambulance to assist with the movement to hospital.
Okay.
The Deputy Majority Leader and Member of Parliament for Ifutsu constituency, Mr. Alexander Pinyoy-Markin, on GTV Breakfast expressed his disappointment with the minority over their reaction after the Supreme Court affirmed the Deputy Speaker's right to vote while presiding. He said the opposition party always scandalizes the court when judgments are not in their favor.
I'm happy to be part of a discussion on the matters arising from the Supreme Court decision. But I must express disappointment in our colleagues in the NDC. I think that they have gained this unmatched notoriety for always scandalizing the courts, and it's all about if it's not them, everything should come down, and it is not good for the democracy we are practicing. The NDC has demonstrated over the years that when it comes to court, they don't respect court decisions. They would only respect the court decisions, and that marks bad faith, that a serious Democrat would always express disagreement, but not to scandalize.
The Navrongo-Bolgatanga Catholic Diocese and Development Organization has issued a communique to the government following what they say are gaps that they have identified from participatory monitoring. They say this is affecting the delivery of quality education and health delivery in the Upper East and Northeast regions. The diocese is implementing an advocacy component of a broader education and health project to improve access to health and education in the two regions.
This project, funded by the Hungry Helps program, covers about 11 health facilities of the church and 13 Catholic schools within the Upper and Northeast regions. Using the social accountability mechanisms, the project team used participatory tools to assess selected performance indicators on education and health in the advocacy plan. The school management committees and community health committees collected data from selected schools and health facilities, which were validated at a stakeholders forum. The Human Development Coordinator of the Catholic Diocese of Navrongo-Bolgatanga, Dr. Joseph Ayembila, called for government's immediate intervention in specific areas.
Despite the fact that we are trying to give you the best of academic training as possible, we are trying to make sure that products of this college really are different from the products of other colleges. To prepare you to be men and women who make change, positive change and high impact when you get out of this place.
On education, Dr. Yembila called on the Education Minister to reduce mandate supplying adequate logistics to schools in the two regions for effective teaching and learning.
It is not Islam per se that is not agreed for Muslim girls to marry to Christian men. But dialogue is not going on a campaign to say that if you are a Muslim, marry a Christian. If you are a Christian, marry a Muslim. We only want people to feel free, to live peacefully, and to be able to interact without tensions.
Participants at the Stakeholders Forum, who pledged to speak on condition of anonymity, said the education sector is taking a dent due to the non-payment of capitation grant, unavailability of furniture, and various teaching and learning materials. Some of them said non-payment of national health insurance claims is badly affecting expansion of infrastructure and purchase of medical products.
Students of St. John Bosco College of Education in the Upper East region are being encouraged to observe the principle of dialogue and communication as students of diverse faith and experience. Marking the season of Lent on the college's campus in Navrongo, the National Coordinator for Interreligious Dialogue, Very Reverend Father Boniface Maswele, said people of different religious faiths should be allowed to marry if they so wish.
The lecture focused on developing the values of students so that they can be active assets in society. According to the principal of the college, Professor Joseph Amikuzuno, attaining academic certificates is not enough to fit into society. For these reasons, in the human values is important for the growth and development of the student's teacher.
Despite the fact that we are trying to give you the best of academic training as possible, we are trying to make sure that products of this college really are different from the products of other colleges. To prepare you to be men and women who make change, positive change and high impact when you get out of this place.
Speaking on the theme, Lent, a favorable time to respond to God's call to interreligious dialogue, our role as students of diverse faith and experience, the National Coordinator for Interreligious Dialogue, Very Reverend Father Boniface Maswayeli, said interreligious tolerance and dialogue fosters unity, builds relationships, and brings about development. He added that interreligious dialogue makes it possible for the two major religions to intermarry.
It is not Islam per se that is not agreed for Muslim girls to marry to Christian men. But dialogue is not going on a campaign to say that if you are a Muslim, marry a Christian. If you are a Christian, marry a Muslim. We only want people to feel free, to live peacefully, and to be able to interact without tensions.
Some participants at the lecture told GBC News they were happy about engaging in interreligious dialogue.
In our studies, for instance, maybe me, I'm good at maths, and someone to be good at social studies. And the fact that I'm a Christian or I'm a Catholic might not mean that I know everything. But if I have that kind of relation with the Muslims and other Christians, it will help me to learn a lot from my other colleagues. And I think with this, it's of benefit for we students of this school.
For this kind of lectures, they are very good in the sense that it encourages students to accept the various faiths that we have on campus, especially as Muslim and then the Christians faithfuls.
The lecture brought together Christians from different denominations, the Muslim community, traditional faith, among others.
You're still live on news on GBC News and GTV. Efforts to recover the country's lost forest cover to fight climate change are under threat from the indiscriminate sand mining in some parts of the Ashanti region. At Kona in the Central South District, farmlands, especially cocoa farms and economic trees, are being destroyed in place of the sand. Monitoring the happenings, GBC News' Clara Mlano gathered that people are being silenced with death threats when the negative impact of their action is raised.
Relevant as it is to development due to population growth and the high demand for housing, the adverse effects of sand mining on the ecosystem is dire. This vast area was once a rice farm, cultivating local rice for the Ghanaian market. Overnight, the farmland turned to this, degraded due to sand mining. Agriculture is one of the main economic activities of the people in the Central South District of the Ashanti region. Of that, cocoa is the major agricultural activity, being one of the country's major foreign exchange earners. For decades, this 10-acre tract of land has been Papa Kojo Bwedi's main source of livelihood, cultivating cocoa, after inheriting the land from his mother. He tells me he has benefited enormously from this farm, enough to put his children through school and fend for the family. However, he is in doubt if he would also bequeath this farm to his children. The sand mining invasion has affected his farm, destroying a quarter of the farm. In return, he was offered a paltry 400 Ghana cedis from the contractors.
Me say na be ko be 2 weeks ni nti me be na papa no fa ase baako e de machine no wa ha mutu nti eye no ana me ba na me se da bi de omo ye no wo so kra wo koku no bi na mka jense koku no ni dua ya nti wo bi no so enye hwe na ye de kotu futu nti ni na sanso ma ha ti me ba ya bubru.
There is the allegation of traditional authorities being in league with this illegality.
Ye ba e be hunu se omo sanwa ye busa om se nana se ye on sanwa ene abusa pani mo mo asaha nwa nyina koko wo ha no mo 200 nyina tukoko na tuagu asanwa nwa wo so nyina mo abukla ni nyina ensu ada ha e frɛ na banko dua ayabusua ni nsuo ehemfo mo aba wo kumani na konwa so nyina mo ete asa nsuo na o mo nse yaduanafo nsuo o mo anya ho hwe o mo se asase epesi tetre aha na ne ebesa nsuo adi kofie nsuo nyina abawe enso ha wafom nti na nwe ne ebesa kofie konom hwe o mo asanwe ahwe de o mo aye nsuo no aye asase hwe de o mo aye ha.
The concern of the people is the abandoned pits scattered around the farmlands and forests due to the failure of the sand miners to cover or recover the land of the activity.
Se ode asase na ma obi a minim se nkan ye wo mu se owia se wo se wo ye kro owia wo se okataso nanso no se nipa na ode asase na ama no se wa amfolo adwumadie no a nipa no wi na adwuma na okọ.
You're still watching News Hour live on GBC News and GTV. We'll be back with the business segments. Please don't go away.
Bring you some business updates now. My name is Morris Ogbete. Now, the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors is predicting fuel prices could hit 11 pesos per litre by tomorrow. That's Wednesday. The chamber blames the situation on the uncertainty on the market as well as the rising cost of crude oil on the international market. The cedi, which has lost almost 18 pesos to the dollar to date, is a major factor. A litre of both diesel and petrol is now selling at 9 cedis 99 pesos at some filling stations. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has seen oil prices rise to their highest level in more than a decade and is on the verge of hitting new record, with crude prices predicted to reach as high as $185 a barrel. And away from fuel prices, raw cocoa and coffee beans from Ghana are to be shipped to an internationally certified agro-processing facility in Dubai for value addition. This is one of the outcomes of the ongoing Dubai Expo, which is currently ongoing. The move is expected to make the export of Ghana's cocoa and coffee to the global market easier and fetch the country more revenue.
Ghana's chocolate products do not have the USA FDA certification, making it difficult for cocoa products from the country to enter the US and European markets. It is only the raw cocoa that has easy access to such markets, but the cocoa in its raw form attracts very low prices compared to finished products. For this reason, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has begun discussions with the Dubai Agri-Commodities of the United Arab Emirates (UAE) to ensure that Ghana's cocoa and coffee gains access to the global market without hindrance. Ghana is expected to earn many times more what she earns from the export of the cocoa and coffee beans when it adds value to the commodity in the Dubai facility. The country can rake in over $10 billion compared to the current $2.5 billion it earns from its raw commodity export. The Dubai Agri-Commodities of the United Arab Emirates (UAE) has a United States Food and Drugs Administration (FDA) certification, which enables products from its processing facilities to enter the US and European markets without hindrance. It is a state institution that adds value to the raw commodities to the exporting country's specification and finds markets for the finished products globally. If the move gets the green light, Ghana's cocoa products, such as semi-finished cocoa products and finished chocolate and others, are to be fully processed in Dubai and packaged for the world market.
Let's understand this story a little bit further. Mr. Eric Bafo is an economist. He joins me via phone with a conversation on this particular story. Good afternoon to you, Eric.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, sir.
Right. So what do you make of this particular initiative having to send Ghana's cocoa and coffee to Dubai for some processing?
Well, thanks so much for this great opportunity. And for me, as an economist, where I'll come from, I'll take it to the two perspectives. In everything we have a merit and a demerit. Yes, if you look at the merit in these issues, what the Ghana is going to gain is the foreign exchange. It's now looking at the highs of the cedi to the dollar, it has risen to 7.9%, which is equivalent to 1.8% in increment from January to this time. That is the only merit that I will take it from now. Now, if you look at the raw materials in Ghana, in terms of our exports in other countries, cocoa is a major commodity that increases when it comes to goods or services to the foreign countries. In 2019, Ghana exported a cocoa the amount of $2.4 billion, with that gold was also where gold was $2.2. So it tells you that if we add value to our cocoa industry in Ghana, there is going to be a lot of revenue that the state is going to get.
Right.
So, first of all, you talk about employment. You talk about the product of cocoa itself. You ask yourself, how many Ghanaians, children, youth, mothers, family do benefit from the product of cocoa.
Right.
But go outside the world, they are rather benefiting from it. For
so
me,
ideally, ideally, this processing plant should be in Ghana, and then we get the employment that we're talking about. Now we're doing it in Dubai. Are we not creating jobs for, you know, some other people in Dubai?
Yes, yeah, that is where I'm coming from. And job is the major problem that we are facing as a country. If you're looking at this Ghana statistics, every year we are producing over 100,000 graduates. But at the end of the year, only 20-25% are being retained both in the public and the private sector. You ask yourself, where are the 80% going? Now we have this raw materials, which is one of the most leading commodity and product around the world and around the globe. And it's in Ghana is also the second largest production of cocoa. So it tells you that if you have the mechanisms, the machines, and other requisite skills, and then finish into a finished product into this country, Ghana is going to create not less than about 200,000 direct exchange of jobs.
Right. So before I let you go, how should the contractual agreements be like so that we also derive the maximum benefits? At the end of the day, we don't send the cocoa to one entity in Dubai who processes and then, you know, gets the benefits, you know, as against the farmer who is on the ground.
Yes, I think the time has come that as a country we need to sit down and implement certain policies and programs in order to curb the unemployment situation in the country. Ghana started producing cocoa way back to Tekwashi firm. And you ask yourself that we should have machines that we can process it here. That's the only solution that is. There's nowhere in abroad that they have a cocoa tree or that they grow cocoa there. But everywhere you go, you could see that you have the cocoa product across the country. So what is the problem? So the problem is that the leaders need to sit up and make sure that the machines that they are being used over there should come here so that we can also create jobs, add value to the product, and then balance of payment deficit will also be reduced.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric Chebafo.
As a country.
Thank you very much, sir. He's an economist there, Mr. Eric Chebafo. We're still talking about exports, and the export finance is the fulcrum around which the economy or the recovery of the economy revolves. That's according to a Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Herbert Krapper. Addressing the Forum on Export Trade organized by the Ghana Exim Bank in Accra, Mr. Krapper said the disruption of global supply chains calls for tailor-made financial packages aimed at scaling up exports in order to ease the pressure on the Ghana cedi.
In export, it is our fervent desire for our exporters and SMEs to achieve dominance in strategically important sectors of the Ghanaian private industry. We shall, in partnership with key and relevant stakeholders, create greater awareness for made in Ghana products and strongly support efforts aimed at endearing these products to the Ghanaian and to strategic markets around the world. And it's my hope that our mutual organization will make significant strides in our respective areas, ultimately giving best effort to the government's agenda for industrialization and attainment of Ghana beyond aid.
Strategic anchor industries are being facilitated to create new growth poles. Work is advanced on building special economic zones and industrial parks in all 16 regions. SME development has seen transformation never before seen. Our domestic retail infrastructure is being upgraded, and we are implementing a very robust business regulatory reform program to ease doing business in Ghana. Export development remains at the core of this agenda, and the National Export Development Strategy provides us a golden opportunity to finally get it right.
Some international news updates after this break. Stay with us.